You guys really like when I challenge McDonald's in a Big Mac, Popeye, and a chicken sandwich, so I figured I will come back with another one. But this time I'm tackling breakfast, and an item that is probably loved by me until today, because we are recreating the Egg Mcmuffin, but we're gonna make it better. Let's go. Alright, so we're gonna start with the first step, which is going to make our English muffin.
Alright, so if you're familiar with the show, you already know what we're doing, but we are going to activate a yeast. We are going to add some hot water as well as a bit of sugar to a yeast and give it a tiny whisk. Let that rest for about 10 minutes. We're then going to place in a medium saucepan the rest of the sugar with the milk. We're gonna give that a tiny whisk so it's nicely combined. And we're gonna place it on the heat on medium-high. We're not looking to boil the milk, but just to bring it to a simmer. So as soon as you see some little bubbles, give it a bit of a whisk and take it out of the heat for a nice nap.
Right, our milk is warm, it just bubbled. We're gonna let that cool down for about 5 minutes. Our yeast is developing nicely, turning to foam on top. So I'm going to let that rest a little bit longer, so make sure the milk is cooled down, and we're gonna start assembling the dough.
Okay, so for the dough, we are going to place half of the flour, we'll keep the rest for later, in a medium-sized stainless steel bowl. We're gonna add a mixture of yeast that is not fully developed, salt, some shortening, and obviously our milk mixture that is now cooled down. We are then going to start mixing. I like to start using a spatula so it doesn't stick to your finger and it's way easier to control. You should then obtain some sort of a shaggy dough. At this point, you can add the rest of the flour, and we're gonna switch from the spatula to our hand. We're gonna give that dough a bit of a knead. So we're gonna start kneading it in the bowl so you have something that's more compact. Then we're gonna switch it on to our bench, and we're gonna start kneading the full dough until it's completely combined and you have a beautiful, smooth bowl of dough. This process will probably last about 3 to 4 minutes. You can also use an electric mixer if you feel like it, but I wanted to work my muscle today.
Alright, so our dough is ready. I'm now going to place it on my greased bowl. We're gonna cover it with plastic wrap, and we're gonna leave it to proof for about an hour and a half or until it doubles in sizes.
90 minutes later.
It's been 90 minutes. Our dough is fully proofed, so we are going to unwrap it. Start degassing it, and we're gonna roll it.
Okay, another things we've done before, degassing the dough. Pretty much you're going to punch the dough to remove all the air that's been developing while it's been raising, really. So you want to punch that down. Anyway, back to the dough. We're gonna lay it down on our bench surface. You do not need to add any flour, and you want to roll it to about 1 inch thick. I feel like mine was a little too thin, probably half an inch. I will highly suggest that you go with 1 inch. I made a mistake, you don't have to do it. Then we're gonna use our pastry cutter. I used the 4 inch, you could do 3 inches, it's really up to you. But I personally think that 4 inches is the right size. You're going to punch all the dough. The good thing is you can actually re-roll it until you have done all the dough. In our tray, we are going to add our cornmeal to get that like proper English muffin feel. So you're gonna make sure you cover the entire surface. I've also added a piece of parchment paper so it doesn't stick to your tray. And I'm now going to remove all that excess dough that I'm going to re-roll, and then we're gonna place the muffin onto our tray that's covered with cornmeal, and we're gonna add more cornmeal on the top so we can have that like little crunch when we bite into it, as it should be. It's a muffin. We love it. We love that cornmeal. We just can't get enough of it. Anyway, we're gonna wrap them with plastic for another nap.
And I'm not going to proof them for another half hour. Alright, it's been half hour. Our muffin have nicely risen. While this was happening, I prepped my bacon, my cheese, and we have some beautiful farmed eggs. I heat up my pan, and we are now going to cook these little beauties.
So for the baking of the muffin, you could use a griddle. You would just have to grease it before. Unfortunately, I don't have one, so I'm using a cast iron, and trust me, it will do the exact same job. It's slightly greased. I just use a paper towel. We don't want it too much. It's kind of a dry cooking. So we're gonna place our muffin, and we're gonna cook them on 10 minutes on each side. You want them to be not too burned. So you want a beautiful golden brown, but you don't want them to be completely charred. And while the second batch is cooking, we are going to start working on the other elements of the dish, which is the egg and the crispy female bacon, obviously. Alright, so for the egg, I'm trying to be as classical as possible from, I would say, the real recipe. Anyway, in a non-stick pan, I'm going to place my egg inside the same cutter that I used to cut the muffin. I slightly oil the pan, really like just enough so it doesn't stick to the bottom. And I'm going to crack the egg yolk. I want to make sure that yolk runs all across so that we have a nice ratio of white and yolk. I'm going to place a little bit of water to create some steam. We're going to cover it and cook it for about 2 to 3 minutes. Once it's cooked, you're going to place it into a plate, and we're going to remove it from the ring, and we're going to repeat the process with another egg, and I'm going to show you from the top so you kind of see what it looks like. Now let's move on to the pea meal bacon. In a stainless steel pan, I've added a bit of oil, and obviously, as you can see, I cut them to shape, and I'm just going to cook them on both sides for about 15 seconds or until they're nicely golden brown and crispy. I'm going to then transfer them into a plate with some absorbing paper so we can remove all the excess fats.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to assemble our egg McMuffin. Right here we have what's about to be our contender, and right here we have the sad reigning champion. So I'm gonna put it together, we're gonna do a side by side, see who's the best, and we'll determine who's gonna take the crown, shall we?
Once again, we're not rocket scientists, so it's an easy process. We're going to use a bread knife. I think it's very important and easier. Watch your fingers, and we're gonna slice it in half. We're gonna top it with some cheese, we're gonna add our egg, a little bit of salt, and we're gonna top it with our pea meal bacon. Close that, and just like that, we are ready.
Alright, so first let's look at them. They both have the same amount of ingredients. Mine is very round. I really went for the perfect shape. Obviously, well, this looks a little dry. I'm using pea meal bacon, as it should be. Doesn't look like they are. Also, let's please note that I actually put them both in the oven so they were equally as warm. And now we shall taste them. The one from the yellow arches has been toasted. I did not toast mine because it's fresh and I don't think it needs it. Now I'm going to try them. Well, truth be told, I had to stop the video and get a glass of water because that tastes like cardboard and it was really hard to swallow. Let's go on with the Frenchy cooked McMuffin. Wow. You can't beat fresh product. This is crunchy. It's very light and pillowy. The egg is perfectly cooked. The bacon is nice and crunchy. Wow, I'm sad to say it, but it looks like McDonald's Zero Frenchy cooked stew. On to the next one. Wow, that was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what I should do next, and I will see you on the next episode.